I am located on the West Coast. My name is Bobby Mann. I'm the Maddie's Human Animal Support Services Pilot Coordinator, and so excited to be introducing my co-host today, Amber Evie. Amber, how are you this morning?
I am so good, Bobby. Thank you so much for having me. And good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see your faces or your names. Thanks for joining us to either start your week or if you're in the middle of your week or ending your week. I'm just really excited to be sharing this space with you and hosting the call with Bobby and Mary today.
And Amber, would you mind just taking a moment and telling folks who you are, what you do, and maybe a little about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thanks for the intro, Bobby. My name is Amber, and I'm the grant specialist at Maddie's Fund. My pronouns are she, hers. I've been a grant specialist at Maddie's Fund since 2017, which is pure bananas to me. In some ways, it feels like I just started. In other ways, it feels like I've been there the entire time. Prior to working at Maddie's Fund, I worked for the San Francisco SPCA and was on the other side of the grants, receiving the funds. So it's really interesting to see both sides. And prior to that was at an animal rescue in Michigan called Crash's Landing, which is a really small cat rescue.
Thanks, Amber. And I know you're saying that since 2017, it feels like a long time. And I think I have officially decided that whenever I talk about Zoom years or COVID years, I'm going to consider them like dog years, where if I was doing something for a year, I'm going to consider it like 7 years of experience because like we've all been drinking out of fire hoses for the last couple of years. So you've actually been there for like 16 years now. You're getting close to probably Mary, Smith, and Allison at this point, Amber.
Did you just call them Zoom years?
Yeah, there's
I
Zoom
love it.
years. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
let's go for that.
Well, folks, we are going to get into our agenda shortly, but truly the purpose of these calls really is about building community, being there for our community in the good times and the tough times. So we're really going to slow it down for a moment to create some space, and I'm going to toss it over to Mary Smith.
Everybody. So Bobby, I think in Zoom years, I'm probably like 158. So that's kind of a staggering way to start the morning.
Well, whatever that moisturizer is that you're using, Mary,
There you go. There you go. It's dog pee. No, but who knows? Anyway, so you guys, a couple months ago, we did a candid conversation with Akeisha Townsend Eaton. And I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen to that or if you know anything about her, but Akeisha is she's an attorney who specializes in animal law. She's worked at HSUS. She's worked at Best Friends. She's now with the Animal Legal Defense Fund. She lives in Bowling Green, Kentucky. We reached out to her over the weekend to see how she had survived the tornadoes, which I'm sure has affected many of you on the call. Jamie Case, I know, lives close to the Amazon building in Southern Illinois that, at least I think it was Southern Illinois, that was destroyed. Others of you that might be in the Kansas City region or other places that have been affected by this. But here's the thing that I found so inspiring, that when Akeisha reached out to me, the first thing she did was talk about the fact that there are so many people who were finding lost animals wandering around neighborhoods that have been destroyed. And there really weren't any facilities at that point in Bowling Green that would allow people and their pets to come. In fact, there was a young man who was involved in the city council, and he was first generation in the United States. And he had a dog, and he was turned away from a shelter. And so he and Akeisha connected. They put it on social media. Akeisha reached out to local representatives to talk about the Pets Act and everything that could happen as a result of that. They're starting to network and bring people together. Right now, there are now 2 shelters in the Bowling Green area that will accept people and their pets. And her story goes on. And this is the thing that really brought tears to my eyes. And this is why I just think it's so important for us to make the space that we inhabit in animal welfare as good as we can possibly make it, as inclusive as we can possibly make it, because you all are amazing. In the face of the most incredible disasters, you rise up and you figure out what needs to be done to keep people and pets together. You have done this time and time again, and I couldn't be more proud to be part of this community. And so from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you all for this amazing, amazing opportunity, this amazing friendship, this amazing ability to just go out when everybody else is going the other way. You guys are definitely moving towards. And that's just, we don't get that anyplace else but here. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. So we really just wanted to take a pause and just check on everyone. There's nearly 100 folks on this call to see if anybody's dealing with anything because of this crazy weather that's going on, if anybody's having any hardships, if anybody has any questions. So Amber and I will just pause for 30 seconds and feel free to unmute and speak up if you would like.
Is anyone here from Kentucky? That was one of the hardest hit states with the tornado. I'm curious how everyone is there.
Well, and if not, Jamie Case, we'd love to hear from you too. I know you weren't too far away from the Amazon warehouse situation. So if you maybe want to give folks some details on what's going on in your community.
Yeah, they're where that warehouse is off of a highway in there's not a lot of residential area around it, thankfully, and it seemed to be pretty targeted over the warehouse, and that was it. However, there was other damage on the west side. So I'm in Illinois. The Mississippi River separates us. So the tornado came right north of the city, St. Louis City, and up into Edwardsville, and straight to that warehouse. The damage was significant. I think there are 6 fatalities as of right now, and there are still people missing. They're trying to figure out how many are still trapped. My brother is a first responder. He's a firefighter and was able to go up there. And at that point, they had 20 search and rescue dogs on the scene trying to find anyone that they could. And he said it was one of the most horrific things he's ever seen. So I think everybody's just trying to still continue the rescue mission and trying to heal, obviously, right before the holidays, and folks that are missing family members. So.
Well, through all that, Jamie, thank you so much for being here and also to be presenting today. Amber, did you have any thoughts?
I just wanted to say, Jamie, to send your brother and his team a lot of love and support for us and thank them for what they're doing. Like Mary said, there's, folks are leaving a scene and your brother and his crew are going into that scene to help the people who need it. So just please send them our support and our thanks for that. And again, if anyone needs help, Maddie's Fund does have some resources that we can share with other groups who may be able to help. So please feel free to email me or my colleague Irene at grants@maddiesfund.org, and we can help share some information with you.
And I'm sure in a flash, Allison is going to drop your email into the chat because she is a magician. But Amber, since we have you already unmuted and we really want to get into our Monday and get folks rolling, how about you get us kicked off with the question of the day?
Yeah, and so it's interesting too because we had this question of the day kind of created around the holidays, right? And thinking about what the holidays mean and the spirit of gift giving. So I just wanted to say, like, with the destruction, with the tornado and other climate things and other tragedies that happened, the really one of the most important gifts we can give is the gift of ourselves and the gift of time, right? Like things disappear, things go away, but the love and the support you get from your community and your friends and your family, that stays forever. So what we wanted to ask today is what is the best homemade gift you've ever received or given? And again, if it's something that's the gift of time, I think that's really special too, right? So if you have raked your, family members' leaves or, had the gift of giving free childcare to someone who may need it. I don't think she's on this call right now, which is kind of a bummer, but my colleague Irene actually made me this candle and it's so cool. She used a recycled jar that I had given her a while ago, and it smells great. It burns great. I used it to have like a candle at dinner with my partner the other day. So thank you, Irene, for giving me the gift of time and upcycling with this homemade candle. Oh, Kelly has a candle from Irene too. Oh, there you are. Good morning, Irene. Thank you for my
Yes, I'm
candle.
here. I'm here. And I made it a sage scent because I didn't have the actual sage. Amber bought her house this year in it. And, if like you wanted to sage and make it, for, bless the home, I didn't have it. So I had a sage scent. So that was the story behind it. But
I love it. Yeah, getting all the good energy by saging my house slowly with this candle.
well, I'm glad you love it. I know that this Christmas I'm watching my cousin's dog. So that'll be my gift to them.
It's a great free pet care, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
instead of having a kennel.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. Thank you.
And I love this one that's coming in from Kristen that said she had a former boss who made her a pencil holder in the shape of a knight with a shield because the pencil is more mightier than the sword. I love that one. Oh, a picture of from Jennifer with her horse. Oh, that's great.
These are amazing and so thoughtful. GK, I see you dropped something in the chat. Would you mind unmuting and sharing with folks?
Sure. Well, you knew Lou, my best friend growing up, her mom, she was my neighbor for an eternity. And she made me this most amazing quilt with hummingbirds on it, but on the back it was inscribed and signed by her, but she wrote it to my third daughter. And she always made me feel like I was hers, and she passed away this year. So it's pretty bittersweet. Now I'm gonna cry. Goodbye.
Oh, this is a good cry though, right, Gina? Yeah, a bittersweet cry for sure. I love the idea of blankets too because it's hard, right? Like I didn't share a gift I've made because I'm not very talented, not very crafty. But then with a blanket, you get that hard crafting, but it's also like the gift of warmth and the gift of comfort, which is a thing that lasts forever too. So I'm seeing other blankets in the chat, which is great. So, Kristen Katz, I see that it's your first time joining here, so welcome, Kristen. And you got a crazy cat lady sweater. Can you unmute yourself and tell us where you're from and about your crazy cat lady sweater?
Hi, yeah.
Hi.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, great. Yes. Yeah, this is my first time joining the call. I'm so glad to be here. I will only be able to be here for the first 30 minutes. And of the call, I live in Fountain Hills, Arizona, and I work at a local cat rescue there. I've been there since September of 2020, and I'm really passionate about animal rescue. And I love Maddie's Fund, and so to answer the question of the day. My best friend in town just made me a cat sweater. It's a 3D, it's the craziest thing you've ever seen. And I'm trying to get it so that I could even share. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that or not. But at any rate, it's this 3D sweater. It's got a crazy cat. It looks like Phoebe Buffay's picture that she had in that episode of Friends, her picture Gladys, where the creature's coming out of the frame, and it's just the funniest thing. And I'm so flattered that she took the time to do that. it's just nuts.
And you're
Anyways,
on a call
that's
with
me.
a lot of folks who can appreciate a sweater like that. So that's great. Thanks so much for joining us. And
You're right,
we'll
Amber.
hope to see you back on a future call as well.
Definitely.
Yes, if there was ever an audience, this is it. And just also a quick plug for any of the folks that ever have to leave early or cannot make a call. Remember that all of these calls are recorded, and you can always follow the conversation on Maddie's Pet Forum at the community conversations link that I just dropped in the chat. This is great, so much engagement, but let's keep the show rolling. So Amber, would you mind opening it up for some national updates for us?
Yeah, I do want to see. I see one too that was Shelley was talking about cleaning out closets. So again, the gift of time and organization and like service to your family members. So I love that one too. If you can ever help clean, I think that's a great gift to someone. So with that, does anyone have any national updates that they'd like to share from any of the organizations?
Sure. So,
Hi, Aurora.
hey, how's it going? I
Your
haven't been here in
coworker,
a
your
long
little
time.
bird. Yeah, you had your little bird earlier, but I see
Yeah,
that
she's
they. Okay.
here. You'll hear her. But so I really just have an ask. You all are probably familiar with Cuddly for the work that we've been doing, supporting organizations, fundraising for specific animals, specific cases. And we are looking at how we can support organizations who have pet pantries. You know, the last couple of years have been so hard. I think we've all realized, even more than we already knew, that programs that keep animals in their homes with their families are critical, but they need to be sustainable. They need to be as impactful as possible. And so at Cuddly, we want to figure out how we can partner with organizations to do that. So we've put together a survey just to learn about what folks are doing, what programs look like, what's going well, what's not going well, what kind of support would even be helpful. You know, we don't want to come out with something that everybody's like, yeah, that's nice, but it doesn't do it for me. So I'm going to put the survey in the chat. Would love for you to take it. Would love for you to share it with anybody that you know that's running a pet pantry. The more data we can get, the better. That's just going to help us figure out, you know, how we can hit this mark. And I'm also going to just put my email and Summer's email. She was on the call, but I think she's in transit now. If anybody wants to connect offline, would love to just hear about programs, ideas, everything. So thanks.
Thank you, Aurora. And we could hear your little guy, your little girl in the background. It's so cute. I'd also like to encourage you to join Maddie's Pet Forum because I do know that if you're not already, and to post your information there. We do have a lot of groups that I know have done pet pantries with our one of the grants we did for COVID relief last year, and just some other groups that I know are doing that work. So it's a good place to reach out and make those connections.
Awesome. Thank you.
And thank you for being aware of what, you know, reaching out to organizations to see what they need rather than making assumptions. It's awesome. Anybody else? National updates or national asks?
I just wanted to highlight what Allison put in the chat to everybody if they haven't taken a look. There are two sessions that are going to go on. One is December 15th, the webcast with Julie Levy and Monica Frienden-Tehran. It's a feline leukemia testing, one and done for everyone, and it has race attached to it. And then the other one that's going to be really fascinating is a webcast with Jennifer and James Evans of CARE, Amended American History, and that's going to be on February 1st, and the registration links are there for both of those.
Thanks, Sharon. And just another quick sneak peek that I am super excited about. So as you know, we have been working to start planning our calls, our Monday calls going into 2022. And I'm super excited that James and Jen will actually be facilitating this call, the Monday call on January 31st, the day before Black History Month, right before their webinar. So make sure, folks, my goal is to have the largest attendance we've ever had on that call. So my ask for all of you is going to be, that's going to be the bring a friend to work day. Okay. Bring all your friends to work to come join that call.
That's awesome. Super excited for that call, Bobby. I can't wait. And anybody else, national updates? All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and introduce our first speaker, who we heard from a little bit when we were talking about the tornadoes, and that is Jamie Case. So Jamie Case is the Maddie's Human Animal Support Services Project Manager, and she is going to give us a deep dive into HASA's 4 main program elements from our partner organizations. So that's Lost Pet Reunification, Supported Self-Rehoming, pet support and intake to placement. And Jamie's going to talk about how this data is helping drive Haas projects and tools by creating our working groups to support and guide the industry, really focusing on that collaboration to the key of human animal support services. So Jamie, again, thank you so much for being here with everything that's going on with you, around you right now. But please unmute and let us know what you've got today. We're so excited to hear from you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited as well. This has been quite a journey to put this program together with the partner organizations and then really start to collect data. To give you a little bit of background before I start sharing, I was the executive director of an organization that was doing pet support programming within my community in East St. Louis, Illinois. Gateway Pet Guardians was the organization. And I immediately fell in love with the Human Animal Support Services Project because it was the nation really taking what I was doing in East St. Louis and doing it all over the country, which was exciting to hear because I always felt like I was alone on a little island. And those of us that were doing that work back then. So it was really exciting to see all of these organizations doing it. So with this data, we can finally start to see who's doing the work throughout the country and what they need to, and what organizations need to either continue to do the work or do more of the work in their communities. So that was kind of where this came from. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. Give me one quick second here.
Thanks, Jamie. And while we're getting ready for that, I didn't say this before I introduced Jamie, but if you have questions, please put them in the chat. Bobby and I will be monitoring it, and we will project those as they're needed. And then we can always ask Jamie questions at the end. So thanks, Jamie.
Thanks. Give me one quick second here. Where did it go? There we go. Can you see it?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, let me share here. Okay. All right. So first of all, I just want to start off by sharing a snapshot of the project as a whole. So all of you on this call are making up about 7,000 individuals that are engaging in the project currently. In over 1,400 organizations and across 17 countries. And that engagement is on national calls and webinars, joining our working groups, any way that you all are collaboratively coming together you're counted in these numbers. So it really is exciting to see the growth of both organizations and individuals joining the project. There's a little bit of information on our website and how many folks are joining from the website or on the website. That 132 countries is just mind blowing. It grows every single month, which is really, really exciting. Okay, so the Haas project is made up of kind of 3 buckets externally. One is national peer support, like what we're doing right now, the Monday, Friday calls, and job alike groups that we have, the peer groups that we have. Working groups then as well. Those working groups were established to solve major industry problems. And then partner organizations. And our partner organizations right now are made up of our pilot orgs, our 22 pilot organizations, our foundational organizations, which are formerly known as our tier 2 shelters, and then intake partners and non-intake partners. And those non-intake partners are pet food pantries, businesses, educational institutions. So we really have a vast array of partner orgs, and we want to continue to grow that bucket right there. So what is a partner organization? The goal of the partner organization program is to formally unite our industry, build a peer-to-peer network, provide professional development opportunities for your staff, and collect data to prove the efficacy of community-based sheltering programs. So there's a lot of words there, but basically we just wanted to bring everybody together, kind of formally say that your organization wants to support community-based sheltering programs, and provide feedback so that we can continue to provide the tools and the resources to get us there as an entire industry. So for partner organizations, there are two things that we need your org to do. One, it's to fill out the Haas element self-assessment, which is the data that we're going to go over today for the 4 main program elements, and then join our Shelter Animals Count Coalition. If we really want data to drive everything that we do in the industry, we need to be collecting that data. So there's those 2 ways of us doing that are those. I can't see the chat. So if anybody has questions or things that I should be reading, please let me know.
We'll keep an eye on it for you, Jane.
Thanks, Bobby. Okay, so why collect data? First of all, to guide the working groups. So again, we have 30 working groups solving the largest industry problems. Things like foster centric, things like focus on felines, pet support services. So we're using this data to help guide the working groups toward solving the problem. We're going to use this data to also show progress towards solving those industry problems. And we want to show the shift from human support to human support services from historic animal services, which is, again, that was the piece that I have really been intrigued by the whole time. Is this is successful. We are being successful. And I'm here to personally say that because, again, island by myself for a while with a few other folks that were doing some really progressive work with keeping families together. It's so exciting and inspiring to see so many organizations doing this work now nationwide. So currently we have 70 assessments completed, and this is the breakdown of our intake organizations. The majority are animal welfare nonprofits with facility, but no government contract. We do have government municipal shelters, nonprofits with a facility and a contract, and then we do have some rescue partners as well that are foster only. So we're going to start and dive into the first one, lost pet reunification. When we go over these elements, I'm going to talk about successes and opportunities, and then kind of broach a question to all of you. And I'd love for you to unmute and answer those poll questions when we get to them, or feel free to put them in the chat as well. So with our partner organizations, one of the successes that we see is that 86% of organizations microchip adopted and fostered pets. The remainder are working on implementing that, and then one organization needs more support to implement it. So when we ask these questions in the self-assessment, we're asking, is it fully implemented? Are you in the process of implementing it? Or do you need more support or help, resources, tools, things like that in order to implement it? So it really gives us a gauge on the things that we need to produce and create to help move the needle forward across the industry. And the opportunities here with lost pet reunification, 23% want support, tools, or guidance on how to set goals, how to set reunification goals for ACOs, for their teams. 33% want support, tools, guidance on how to incentivize those goals. We heard from some of our pilot organizations that incentivizing was really difficult to do and didn't seem to make much of a difference. So I wanted to pose it to all of you and ask if your organization incentivizes return to home or return to owner. And if so, how are you doing it? And is it successful? If I can see the chat here. And please unmute. We're really using this information to help guide our work going forward. So we'd love to hear from you.
Jamie, so you're asking how are groups, if groups are incentivizing return to home practices, and if so, how? And are you thinking, how are they incentivizing them among their team or among their communities or all of the above?
All of it, actually. I guess I was thinking more on a team level or an ACO level, but if there are incentives in the community level, I would absolutely love to hear about those as well. No one?
I'm really curious about, what you mean by incentives, for your team, to return to owners in, in the field or something like that. Can you give some examples? Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd actually love to, is Gina still on the call, or Bobby? I know both of you have worked on the toolkit for Lost Pet Reunification. So I'd love to hear if you had any ideas from the toolkit that you'd like to share.
I'll
After
throw
you,
something
Gina.
out. Sorry, Bobby. There are organizations that are actually rewarding their animal control officers for the number of reunions they successfully complete in the field. There are organizations that are celebrating those percentages just organizationally, and that wasn't happening before. I can come up with a million ways. Like in police departments, they have pins that officers earn. There's no reason we can't have RTH pins for our field services. So that stays in the forefront, and it's something that everyone's working toward. Bobby, wasn't there a group last week that we talked to that, I don't remember what the reward was, but it was like a gift card. I can't remember.
Yeah, actually, I really love Stacy's comment that you put in the chat. Stacy, would you mind unmuting and sharing that for folks that are listening in?
Sure. I think that there's probably lots of organizations doing this, but Long Beach Animal Care Services has something called a free ride home. So if we pick up an animal in the field and we can identify that animal's owner, we do not take the animal to the shelter. We deliver it directly to the home of the person. And we have started honoring that free ride home, even if we do end up taking the pet to the shelter and that owner can come to the shelter within a day, because sometimes they're not home or they're, on vacation or something. So the free ride home program has sort of extended to animals that may actually be in the shelter for a day or two.
Stacey, I love that so much. One, we need to catch up. I miss your face. Thank you for taking your mask off so I can see your smile. Two, I think this does something so amazing, right? So obviously the goal is to honor the human-animal bond, but the goal also is to continue to change public perception of what our relationship is with our community. And so when we have an opportunity for our officers to interact with the public in a positive way and have that win, the feedback I've been receiving from folks is like, it not only makes the community feel great, it gives the officers an opportunity to do something so positive, when oftentimes as frontline staff, they're the ones that are seeing a lot of trauma and harm in the community. So continue to do those things, Stacey. Thank you so much. And then Jamie, I think because of time, maybe we can move on to the next element.
May I speak up just a moment?
Of course, Monica.
This is Monica Milliken. I work with the League City Animal Care and Adoption Center. It's a city shelter, but I started a nonprofit called League City Pets Alive, and so we support them financially. Our officers do a lot of that return, to the home. I've just never thought about incentivizing them, so that's a great idea. With regard to the first free ride home, is that only on the first impound, or do they get 2 free rides?
Take that one, Stacey.
It's any time. So it doesn't really matter because the goal in this situation is really more about not bringing an animal to an environment where it may not do well and putting an owner in a situation where interaction with the shelter means separation. So we really want to make sure that animals that don't need to be in the shelter are not here. And so an animal that has an owner that can take it right away does not need to be in the shelter. Other enforcement issues aside, when the officer does go, they will enforce ordinances, but they give fix-it tickets to folks. So if an animal's not spayed and neutered, they'll give a 3-month fix-it ticket, but they'll also give a spay-neuter voucher to the person so that they can get that taken care of. If the animal's not licensed, they'll give a fix-it ticket along with clinics where the person can go get their pet vaccinated for rabies at a low cost. And give them some time to get those things taken care of.
Thank you so much, Stacey. I appreciate that. And I definitely want to encourage you to still be using the chat and talking about these poll questions. And I'm going to continue to move on through the rest of the elements. Thank you so much for everybody's input. So the next element is intake to placement. Successes here are 83% of our partner organizations have a foster program and 10% are in the process of implementing one. The opportunity here is 33% want more support tools guidance on building a system for triaging pets to immediate placement versus shelter intake. Our intake to placement working group has worked really hard to build out pathways for identifying placement options. And if you want to raise your hand or put in the chat, how many of you have utilized that piece of our intake to placement element toolkit in Pro Resources? They've spent a lot of time on that, and every time I've asked Faith, who was instrumental in creating that, hey, do you have this or do you have that? She's like, it's in the pathways for identifying intake placement. It's in the pathways document. It's in the pathways document. So I really want to encourage everyone to go to the pathways document to help work through that triaging system. Okay, moving to supported self-rehoming. The successes and opportunity here is 41% of our partner organizations utilize Rehome by Adopt a Pet. The opportunity, another opportunity here is 53% would like more support tools guidance to build a program to connect multiple owners of pets so the previous owner can stay in touch with the new owner. We do talk about that a bit in our toolkit. So I'd love to have to drive folks to the supported self-rehoming toolkit. But I wanted to make another point here about website language. We are in the process of doing a website audit with some of our pilot organizations regarding supported self-rehoming. And one of the things that April Huntsman from Adopt a Pet is helping out with this project. Folks are not searching for terms like rehome my pet or surrender my pet even. When folks are looking for support, when they need to give up their pet, they're looking for give up my dog, give away my dog, give away my cat. And as hard as that is for us to hear as animal welfare professionals, we do need to start thinking about what the community is asking and what they're looking for so that they can find us, so that we can give them the tools that they need. So changing URLs and metadata and things like that on the back end of your website or even on your page to terms like give up your dog or give up your cat will help people find you so that you can offer them the support that they need to either keep their pet or self-rehome their animal. So my question here is, does your organization provide self-serve rehoming tools on your website? And I'd love a little bit of chat here if anybody wants to unmute and talk about that. And I'm not at all following the chat either. So if there's anything in there, please chime in.
There's some great conversation about how language matters and still some chatter about return to home. So I'm sorry. Yeah, so we've got some good stuff going on there and you'll have to grab the chat after this to see all the good stuff going on.
Yeah, Monica, we see you unmuted if you'd like to speak up.
We utilized home to home about a year ago, but we haven't seen it very successful. We went through and polled all of the people that listed a dog or a cat on it, and most of them placed it, but not through the home to home. So I hope we can get something that will be successful because it's a great idea.
Monica, something that we can actually offer you is one of the coolest things I think that the supported self-rehoming working group is doing is they're actually providing one-on-one assessments for organizations. So if you don't mind putting your email in the chat, I can hook you up. And the folks that are on that working group are actually the folks that operate home to home and rehome. So if you drop your email in there, we can get you some one-on-one coaching there.
Terrific. I will. Thank you.
Yeah, and if anyone is from the supported self-rehoming working group and you have access to that form, I'd love that to be dropped in the chat as well, because that's such a really great resource for organizations. And they're just like begging people to use it. Okay. Our last element that we're going to talk about is pet support services. this is the one that I feel most passionate about. So success, 69% offer food and pet supplies to vulnerable pet owners, and 20% are in the process of implementing. As the pandemic was really starting, I saw this as probably the lowest hanging fruit that organizations really jumped on. And it was really exciting to see how many organizations implemented some sort of pet food pantry. So I love that Cuddly is jumping on board to help with that as well. And the opportunity here, 42% would like support tools guidance for building a program to help pet owners find affordable pet accessible housing. So we know this, and we have a lot of tools for all of these elements and resources within our toolkits that are on Pro Resources. So I really encourage everybody to kind of dig into each one of the toolkits to find help and support for any of these elements. So my question here, how does your organization determine which support service you offer to your community? Have you done any surveying, et cetera, to your community members? And I'm really, really personally curious about this. So please unmute if you have done focus groups or door-to-door surveys or anything like that to get out to your community to see what they really need and want from your organization.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, what do you guys use to get the word out? You know, do you use your website or do you just use Facebook? Because we only have, right now, I can only think of Facebook, and you only have a certain, you know, amount of people. So you said door to door. That was kind of an interesting thought there, but that's something I've thought about too. So I'm going to let everyone go ahead.
Hey, Chris, as sort of a PFL, Pets for Life OG, and been doing this community work for a while, I see what you put in the chat. Would you mind sharing that out loud?
Yeah, so, you know, we always have to qualify whether this is now or pre-world change, but we, as a PFL mentorship community, we've been going door to door through some of Rochester's most underserved communities and neighborhoods since 2016. And so we don't necessarily have a survey, but the model is based on introducing ourselves, saying, "Hi, I'm Chris. You know, are you interested in learning about our free programs and services?" And so in having those conversations, people self-identify what it is they're interested in hearing about or asking for. And then we don't go with the assumption that someone needs help. We're going asking a question about if they'd like to hear what services and programs we have to offer. Now it's more kind of reactive. You know, people through word of mouth are reaching out to us saying, "I heard you provide food. I saw something on Facebook. I saw, you know, I heard something from a friend," and you know, never-ending list of requests are coming in.
Thank you so much, Chris. Shannon, I don't know if you're able to unmute for just a minute, and then I'm gonna close out this presentation.
Sure, I'm here, Jamie.
Hi.
Hi.
I would love to hear about your research.
Oh, sure. So for those that don't know, My Pitbull's family runs the nation's largest database of rentals that have no breed, weight, or size exclusions. And so every year we do research in cities across the country in order to build out our database to support shelters and rescues across the country with making sure folks can find a place to live. So in 2021, we did all the capital cities. And now that we've done that, you know, really focusing on areas that we don't have a whole lot of data for. So you can check out mypitbullsfamily.org/research to see our research dashboard, to see, you know, all of our data in real time. But if folks are really interested in pet inclusive housing, we'd be happy to do some research in your area or even team up on research projects if you have volunteers that want to do something at home.
Thank you so much. Can you, I don't know if you stuck your email in the chat, but I'd love for you to include that as well.
Absolutely. I'll drop it again. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, okay. So becoming a partner organization, if your organization is not a partner organization, there is a link here on this page. Jot it down. We can also throw it in the chat. Sarah, I think you're on this. Sarah Miller, if you wouldn't mind grabbing that and putting it in the chat too, that would be hugely helpful. We'd love for you to take the assessment, learn about all of the pieces of each of the Haas elements and how you can do them in your community. And just really kind of put your stake in the ground and say that you want to help us reimagine animal services.
Jamie Case, I am so grateful for your leadership on this project. Just a quick note prior to Amber introducing our next speakers is that we know y'all were just drinking out of a fire hose for the last 20 minutes, and we really wanted to slow down and unpack a lot of these conversations. We know that at this speed is not how learning happens. We don't expect you to retain all of this information, but the beauty about joining these partnerships is that you can spend an hour or 2 hours having these conversations about each and every one of these programs. So thank you all so much, and Amber, over to you.
Thank you, Jamie, and I hope that after this you are totally off that island and you realize that you're on this huge continent of lots of folks doing the same work. And thank you everyone for sharing with Jamie as well. So we're going to talk about the ASPCA Los Angeles Foster Program. So the ASPCA Los Angeles Foster Program has supported more than 8,000 felines through diversion, foster placement, and adoption while working along the LA County Department of Animal Care and Control. So Nadia Osaguera, the Senior Manager of Foster Care, and Deborah Olmedo, Foster and Community Outreach Manager, are going to talk to us about a focus on community impact and how they use elements of a successful foster program to make a difference for people and cats. So I'm super excited to welcome Nadia and Deborah. If you'd like to unmute and tell us about the foster work you're doing.
Thank you. We will not take too much of your time. I'm going to share my screen, and if I can just get some signals that you can see my screen, that would be helpful.
It looks great, Nadia.
Okay, perfect. So good morning, everyone. My name is Nadia Osaguera. I'm the Senior Manager of Foster Care. And I'm joined with Deborah. If you want to introduce yourself, Deborah.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm the manager of Foster and Community Outreach. And since 2014, the ASPCA has been working to assist animals in underserved communities. We do this through a number of different programs, spay-neuter clinics, primary pet clinics, relocation, some community cat work, and of course the program we're here to discuss, which is our LA Cat and Kitten Foster Program. And we're going to talk about how, what's going on with this program and how we are expanding to a new group of fosters.
So just to give you a quick overview, the LA Foster Program started in 2017, and we launched this in partnership with the Department of Animal Care and Control here in Los Angeles County. When we first launched this program, we started just at one of the 7 animal care centers, and we were focusing on one population of kittens. So that was kittens ages 4 to 8 weeks old. That allowed us to learn along the way, adjust our processes, our procedures, and then we were able to move forward to help other populations. So now we're working with all 7 animal care centers, and we've been able to impact more than 8,000 felines. And so I point this out just for those who are wanting to start or grow their foster program, starting with obtainable goals that were within our capacity was what helped us propel and grow from there. So today I'll be talking about our recruitment and our retention strategies. At the start of our program, we had to grow our foster base from scratch. And what we really tapped into was people's desire to want to help animals. There are lots of cat and animal lovers out there who might not know that there is a need for cat or dog fostering. So simply as a program, we are facilitating that connection between people who want to help and those animals who need them. And it's not a requirement that people are perfect or expert. They just have to have a desire to want to help animals, and then we'll do the rest. So we aim to remove any barriers to fostering because we want people to be wanting to help, and it's not realistic for all of our fosters to come to us and learn what it takes to be a foster in person. So if you go on our foster sign up page, you can see that people in Los Angeles County can start fostering the same day that they apply to become a foster. And we do this by creating a flexible experience for the various types of fosters that come our way. So first and foremost, they can do the onboarding training on demand. So they can start, stop, continue, and learn at their own pace. And in that training, we just talk about what it takes to be a foster with our program. Again, we don't expect that they're going to be perfect or experts after finishing this training. If they do decide to foster, then they also have the option to decide which populations of kittens they want to foster, how long they can foster for. And what we see is that there's some people who can only be on standby on an emergency basis for, say, 48 hours. So they can only hold on to those kittens for 2 days until we find a more permanent foster home. And that in itself is impactful because it allows us to take those kittens into a foster home. There's other people who can only foster adult cats. And so by allowing different people to get involved in ways that make sense for them or that's within their capacity, we're able to create a greater impact. So once we built our foster base, we wanted to keep our fosters coming back for more. And one of the ways that we do that is just by prioritizing strong relationships. We get to know our fosters. We tell them how grateful we are for them. During COVID, all of us felt disconnected from the people in our lives. So we felt that it was important to maintain that connection. And so we started holding foster mingles where we were hanging out with our fosters, talking about bottle babies or different kittens. Then we also had more formal platforms like roundtables. So we would have our doctor, sit in on these roundtables and answer medical questions about like ringworm or upper respiratory infections. And that allowed the fosters to have that connection with us. Another thing that we did was hosting Q&A sessions where it's just an open forum for fosters to come and ask us whatever questions they have about the program. Then I also want to point out, I know that saying thank you just feels like such a simple thing to do, but we say thank you to our fosters anytime that we talk to them pretty much, and we really mean it. And I think that it shows them, one, that they're impactful, and two, that we see them as individual people who are contributing to our mission. And then when it comes to like Foster Appreciation Week, we'll put together a video showing them, again, their impact. And it's not a grand gesture that we're doing for them, but it does really go a long way to build that rapport and keep that connection with them. Something else that we noticed as the program evolved was that people were learning by doing, and so their skill sets were just developing organically. So we had, the most basic example is like a foster who takes weaning kittens for the first time. They're trying to get those kittens to eat, and it can be stressful, but we're here to support them. We walk them along the way, and then those kittens start eating on their own. So that foster is more likely to take on weaning kittens the next time that there's a need for that. Same thing with medical conditions or behavior challenges. So during COVID, we also saw that people had an interest to dedicate more time to more involved cases. All of a sudden, people who were going out of their house all day were now working from home. And so they expressed an interest to want to challenge themselves a little bit more. And that's where we launched our online trainings specifically for bottle babies and under socialized kittens. And just like our onboarding process, this is optional for fosters, and we don't expect them to walk out of our trainings being experts. We actually say from the beginning of the training to the end, you're not going to be an expert just by attending this class. And if you choose to take on these populations, your learning is going to come from actually doing, from taking those kittens and going through the process. And they know that they have us as their support system, even though they'll be the ones doing most of the work. The last strategy that I want to share with you is offering resources and support, once again, to show fosters that they're not in this by themselves. They have a team of people behind them. So this might look different depending on what your organization has the capacity to provide. But some examples are we offer, medical services, vaccinations, medications, surgery for all of our foster kittens and cats. We also offer the basic supplies like food and litter. Another resource that has proven to be, well, it's free, but it's also been really incredible, is a Facebook group. So this is just an online community where all of our fosters can come together. They can ask each other questions, and our more experienced fosters will jump in and answer the questions. Something really amazing that happens is when a person just got their first litter of kittens and they simply post a picture saying, these are my new kittens, they're so cute. And they get an overwhelming amount of support and encouragement. So if this is something that you have the capacity for your team to do for your fosters, I highly recommend it. It has been a very helpful tool for our fosters. And last strategy I want to share, or form of support rather, is an adoption ambassador program. So we all know that saying goodbye to our foster animals is really difficult, no matter how many times you do it. But something that fosters really enjoy is seeing their kittens go onto their adoptive homes. So finding a home for a kitten, as cute as they are, if you've never done it before, you are like, where do I even begin looking? So our adoptions team trains our fosters to network their kittens through different outlets and to facilitate the adoption. So this is a win for the foster because they get to see their kittens onto their next home. And it's also a win for the adoptions team because that's one less adoption that they have to facilitate. But if the fosters cannot find adoptive homes, we do also provide adoption outlets for them. So I know I went really fast, but in the interest of time, I'm going to hand it back to Deborah to take it away from here.
So this kind of brings us to current day operations, where we really wanted to ask this question of how can we use what we've learned with LA Foster that's able to, divert around 2,000 kittens a year to expand the demographic of kittens that we're able to assist. So what we decided to do is to focus on a community that we were seeing a high kitten intake number going into care centers, and kind of see what kind of support, if anything, we can do to decrease these numbers. And what we quickly found out was that people were already caring for community cats and just cats in general, and that specifically kittens were really the catalyst that were getting people to act. So this is how the idea of creating a community-based foster program begins. And the way that we are doing this is that any community member from this city that we're working in that finds either orphaned kittens or has community cats with kittens, they're able to contact us. We do have a website specifically for this, but we are also working alongside animal care and control and a few other stakeholders that are sharing this information. And after they contact us, we I think somebody else said this on the call, we don't ever assume that help is needed. We ask what is needed or what they kind of have going on to see what we can do to just supplement what they're already doing. And some people, I found actually a lot of people, they were already doing every single thing for these kittens, litter after litter. They were feeding them, finding homes for them, everything. And really the only thing that was really needed was just some TNR assistance. And of course, spay neuter for the kittens. Other people would love to help, like my cat here, but the only thing that they were missing is really some supply support. Other people just needed adoption outlets. So we never really want to make somebody, right, or convince somebody to become a foster, but rather what we really want to do is just work alongside community members so that we can keep healthy adoptable kittens outside of the care centers. Next slide, please.
So alongside this community foster program, we also have an online interactive bilingual tool that through a series of questions provides kitten finders a correct path to, again, with this focus of trying to keep healthy kittens outside of the shelter. I want to thank you all for joining us and bearing with my kitty. And we really want to encourage you to create a flexible foster program that really empowers people to feel that they can be part of the solution by just helping in whichever way they can.
Deborah and Nadia, this has been, my mind is blown right now. And when y'all said you needed 14 minutes, y'all really meant 14 minutes. You hit that on the head. I'm going to keep pushing it. I think this needs to be an entire webinar. There's so much more to unpack with this. I'm so grateful that both of you are all here. Amber, I want to thank you again for co-hosting. And Mary, let's toss it over to you to close this out.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And it's just, you started us off in such a great way. Deborah and Nadia, you really took it home for us. And Deborah, your kitty is just adorable. And Amber, thank you for being here today and guiding us through. So I just want to leave you guys with the words of Jim Tedford, the ED of the association. Jim always reminds us that we're animal people. We can do anything and we can change the world. And so when you're feeling like you're not sure what the next right thing is, just remember that twice a week you can join these calls and listen to a lot of other people that are just where you are, trying to figure out what they need to do, and you don't have to do it alone. So thanks, everybody. Bye.